Hello everybody, Robert Marzullo here with Ram Studios, and today I'm going to do a realistic eye for practice and to show you steps that you might take to try this. Just kind of watch. I'm going to time lapse it so you don't have to watch the entire process in real time. But what I'm going to do is keep it basic, especially in the beginning stage. Doing a realistic eye is very basic. You kind of come up with this shape that the eye kind of bends inward here and outward and down and around like this. Connects. It actually comes up and underneath when it connects from the straight on shot like this. You have the little bit of tissue right here that uh, kind of rounds out into there like that. And this shape, I always picture kind of a dove for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's just some shape that comes to mind when I draw this. Maybe like a side of a bird's head or something like that, kind of animated in that sense. I tend to draw more animated, so maybe that's why I see that. But just by putting these basic shapes together like this, you get the roundabout beginning of the realistic eye. Um, and then you can go from there and then make your stylized versions and do whatever you want to do to come up with something different from that. But essentially, to make a real eye, these are some of the shapes you'll use. And obviously it's look at reference for um, this kind of drawing or painting, and just keep practicing, see how close you can come to the real thing, and then from there you can make all the changes and cartoony effects that you want to do. So I'll go ahead and stop talking here and let you watch the time lapse because it does take a little while to do this. Um, by the time you fill in all your shadowing, your lines, your highlights, you kind of build up upon it. And then I'll talk about it when it's done, and you let me know what you think and where I could have did better, and because you obviously can always do better when you're drawing and painting. So let me know what you like and what you didn't. We'll go from there. All right, here we go. Okay, I just wanted to slow down the video real quick and kind of explain my thought process here and what I'm trying to achieve. Okay, so if you notice, I just keep using a light half-toned brush. It's actually the pencil on this particular software, and I'm not going to get into specifics on the software because they'll all pretty much fundamentally do the same thing as long as you adjust your settings. I found that even the most mundane or the cheapest ones uh, sometimes even outperform some of the higher end ones. And I'm not going to name names there, but if you want to know what softwares, ask me in the comments and I'll be more specific. There's a few of them out there. So I just turned down the brush settings and I've turned it down pretty low, like I want to say 8% of its density or whatever. And I just kind of keep overlaying. I used a tiny bit of airbrush, not much. I'm more doing this like you would do, say, markers, where you would use gray washes of markers, or even like I guess more similar to a pencil and a blending stump. So you just kind of keep overlaying uh, shadow where you want your deeper tones to come out. And I haven't even really got to the highlights yet. The only highlights that you see in here are just what's left over from the white of the canvas. So then I'll come back through with my final darks for the eyelashes, highlights for the highlights in the eyes, I'm sorry, and that's kind of how I'll get it to really pop out. So I just wanted to kind of explain that it's really a simple process, and it's just, kind of brushing along and seeing, okay, maybe I need some shadow over here to bring this area out, and just kind of building upon it. It's always think in terms of like layers and varying layers of opacity and thickness. So, all right, so I'll speed it back up. I just wanted to kind of explain that. It's a real simple process, but I figure that way. Oh, and keep in mind, I'm using two blending methods too. So I have one because that always bothered me when I watched people do this, and I couldn't figure out how they were doing different subtle blending. I thought, and here I was using the same smudge smearing type blending the entire time. There's actually a few different ways to do that, and I think it really helps. One is more of a blur, where you just blur the line, you don't smudge it at all, and that's what I'm using right here. It just really softens that line without pulling it around. The other is a smudge, so when you have, I guess the way that I use it more is when I have more, let me get in here and show you. Well, for instance, even that line right there, I don't want that line at all. Well, I'll just smudge it around, and I'll move shadow or light and dark to a direction that I want it, more so than just blurring it. So that's one particular instance. The other is if you drop down a deep shadow and you want to really pull it into another area. That's definitely where that excels. And I do probably 80% of the shading with this, but then I come back at the very end and I'll blur any inconsistencies out. So just figured I'd share that one too. So all right, we'll get back to speeding this up and see what I can come up with. Thank you. Okay, so here it is, my realistic eye. Probably could take it a little bit further with some shadowing to bring it to tone it down a bit. Um, Tone down some of the hot spots to make it look more realistic. Um, but I don't want to put a tremendous amount of time into this since it is just one eye. It's not an entire face or anything like that. And I was just trying to show and explain a little bit of what you would go through to try to get somewhat realistic. Um, you know, Essentially the parts where I was overlaying multiple strokes and shadows to, you know, layer things down or layer them up or brighten them up or shadow them down. That's really all you're doing, and you're doing just stages of that. And better training your eye, no pun intended, to see things that you might miss. Um, for instance, if you check back to my channel here over time, you'll see that I'm gonna do multiple uh, renditions of eyes. Over time, I hope to get better and better and better, and hopefully you'll see that progression in my work and also see it in your own. That's the point. So um, Thanks for watching today. Be sure to check out my Blackstone Eternal comic, which you can find here on my site and on Deviantart at ramstudios1.deviantart. And hopefully this helped you with your own drawing. And be sure to let me know if it did or didn't. And like and subscribe if you don't mind, so I can keep bringing you these videos. And again, this is Robert Marzullo from Ram Studios signing out. Thank you.